Prince Harry touched down in the UK, and you could almost hear the silence echoing louder than any cheer ever could. Not a single clap, not a single flash of a camera, not even a murmur from the networks that once crowned him their golden boy. Can you believe it? The very same British television stations that once fawned over him like he was the star of their own royal soap opera suddenly acted like he didn't even exist. No live coverage, no dramatic slow-motion replay of his steps, nothing, just an empty void. And that silence? Oh, that silence screamed louder than the loudest tabloid headline ever could. This was supposed to be his grand homecoming. A prince back on his soil, a moment to reconnect with family, maybe even patch up some of those messy feuds. But instead, it turned into a brutal reminder that every action has consequences. The UK hadn't forgotten, and the broadcasters made their stance crystal clear. Harry was not going to be the star of their stage anymore. Think about it. This wasn't just a scheduling oversight or a casual snub. No, this was a deliberate move. They didn't want to show his grand entrance, didn't want to fuel the fairy tale anymore, didn't want to keep feeding the narrative that many Brits believe has already harmed the crown image. And why? Because Harry isn't just the one who left. He's the one who spoke. He's the one who bared it all. The interviews, the documentaries, the bombshell book. Each time he opened his mouth, another royal wound was ripped wide open. And every time Meghan was at his side, the criticism only sharpened. Let's not forget the Oprah interview. Oh, people still whisper about it, as if the betrayal was yesterday. The Netflix specials, the endless headlines from Spare. They didn't just expose palace secrets, they shredded centuries-old royal mystique and paraded it across global talk shows. Britain, they said, was cold, unwelcoming, even cruel. For Harry, maybe it was his therapy. For the royals, it was betrayal. And for the British public, it was humiliation on an international stage. So when Harry landed at that airport, every camera that once lived for his smile turned away. That, my dear, was revenge. And make no mistake, this wasn't just about ignoring him. In the royal world, image is survival. Status isn't built on duty alone, it's built on perception. And when the very media that once idolized you now pretends you don't exist, that isn't a cold shoulder, it's erasure. Harry went from being the adored fairy tale prince to the cautionary tale every royal is warned about. And here's the sting in the tale. This is exactly what Harry once said he wanted. He wanted freedom, independence, to carve his own path, to silence the palace machine and speak in his own voice. But oh, the irony. Without the British press, without the royal spotlight, without the pomp and stage, what's left of that power? Hollywood may still keep its cameras on him and Meghan, but Britain has turned the page. And when Britain moves on, the royal weight moves with it. But let's dive deeper, because the silence carries an even sharper edge. For years, Harry has painted himself as the prisoner prince, the victim of an institution that caged him. He said he couldn't breathe inside the palace walls. He said Meghan was mistreated, that the monarchy was toxic. He sold the story of survival. But now, many believe he weaponized that very suffering into a brand. And guess what? People are tired of it. Sure, audiences love a rebel, but only when the rebellion feels fresh, dangerous, thrilling. Once the fire burns down, people look for substance. And what are Harry and Meghan offering? The same complaints, the same sob story, the same finger-pointing. And Britain? They've had enough. That's why the silence cuts deeper than criticism. It's not just rejection, it's boredom. People are fatigued. Inside the palace? Oh, you can bet they're not mourning this blackout. In fact, whispers say this was exactly what the firm wanted. No headlines, no drama, no oxygen for another Harry-fueled spectacle. He arrives, he leaves, and the monarchy, untouched. It's the kind of punishment only the royals could dream up. Quiet, devastating, and oh so effective. And let's not kid ourselves about the public mood either. It's icy. Sure, some still remember the boy walking behind his mother's coffin, and their hearts ache. But many more see a man who traded his royal birthright for Hollywood paychecks and Netflix cameras, then tried to rewrite himself as the wounded prince. And that mix? It's creating a wave of skepticism that just grows every single time he dares to set foot back home. Do you see the tragic twist here? This isn't the first time a royal's been frozen out, but it's definitely one of the most dramatic. The man who once couldn't take a step without being chased by flashing bulbs is now lucky if he even gets a shot in the corner of a tabloid. And that silence? It's more brutal than 1,000 headlines tearing him apart, because it robs him of the one thing he can't survive without: relevance. And that's the million-dollar question now. What happens next? Will Harry swallow his pride and try to rebuild some fragile bridge with the UK press? Or will he and Meghan double down in America, betting everything on Hollywood glitz? Will they throw another round of tell-alls into the fire to claw back attention? Or will they finally back off the narrative that made them rich, but also cost them their place? One thing is clear: the blackout wasn't random. It was carefully orchestrated, a silence that was as intentional as it was devastating. Harry's homecoming should have been a headline. Instead, it was a void. No fanfare, no cheers, no coverage, just silence. And in the royal world, silence isn't peace, it's scandal. When Harry and Meghan packed their bags and stormed out of the UK, the world's jaw collectively dropped. People couldn't believe it. A prince, Diana's own son, choosing California sunshine over centuries of royal tradition, choosing Netflix cameras over palace duty, fame over the crown. It wasn't just leaving, it was a declaration, a middle finger to the very system that raised him. Of course, they softened it up with phrases like stepping back from royal life. But let's be real, Britain saw it as jumping ship. For centuries, royals lived and died under one code, duty above all. And what did Harry do? Toss that dusty old script straight into the flames. And who was holding the lighter? Meghan. She was right there, fueling the fire. From the start, the cracks were obvious. Meghan never fit into the tabloid's neat box. She wasn't accepted by the press, and behind palace doors, tensions simmered like a boiling kettle. Harry sided with her every single time. No hesitation. Admirable as a husband, sure. But to the world outside, it looked like he was waging war on the very family that defined him. That loyalty, while romantic, turned into a royal battlefield. And then came the moment history will never forget. Megxit. A word stamped forever in the royal history books. They didn't just slip away quietly. They made a spectacle. They gave up duties but clung to titles. They begged for privacy, then signed multi-million-dollar media deals. They accused the palace of racism, claimed betrayal, and painted themselves as the victims of an icy, outdated system. California sealed the deal. Suddenly, Harry wasn't Britain's cheeky prince anymore. He was Hollywood Harry. Paparazzi loved him for it, but back home, his aura shattered. Meghan embraced it all, diving headfirst into the spotlight, molding her brand and speaking her truth like she'd finally found her stage. To their fans, they were trailblazers. To their critics, they were traitors. And what really cut deep for Britain? The dirty laundry wasn't whispered behind closed palace walls anymore. It was broadcast to the entire world. The Oprah interview? Explosive. The Netflix documentaries? Damning. The memoir Spare? Oh, that was the cherry on top. An intimate, behind-the-curtains tell-all filled with private family secrets no royal had ever dared to spill. Royals are supposed to live by the motto, never complain, never explain. Harry? He tore that motto to shreds and stomped on the pieces. But let's not sugarcoat it. Money was part of the game. Harry admitted they needed financial independence once palace funding dried up, and Hollywood was only too happy to throw open its doors. Netflix, Spotify, book deals, paid speeches, the works. Suddenly, the couple who begged for privacy were everywhere, and the British public felt duped. Harry, the loyal prince, the one who was supposed to steady the monarchy alongside William, was now selling his crown for cash. Inside the family, the fallout was nuclear. William's fury, the Queen's disappointment, Charles's helpless attempts to negotiate, it all became a tragic royal drama. And let's not pretend otherwise. When Harry walked away, it wasn't just a family feud, it was a crack in the foundation of the monarchy itself. For the first time, a prince rejected the crown in favor of California glamour. Harry and Meghan tried to spin it as survival. They said Britain was unbearable, that staying would have destroyed them. And maybe there's truth in that, but survival came at a price. They torched every bridge they crossed on the way out, and those bridges, they're still smoldering. Each time they return to Britain, the chill is colder. Remember the first visit after Oprah? Every glance, every whisper, every stiff smile said it all. At the Queen's Jubilee, the tension was so thick it could have been cut with a ceremonial sword. And at Her Majesty's funeral, Harry's bowed head wasn't just grief, it was the weight of every broken bond captured by the cameras. And still, the hostility hasn't melted, not even years later. For Britain, Harry's defining moment was walking away. He's no longer the golden prince. They see him as the deserter, the one who cashed in his birthright. And Meghan? She's become a lightning rod, sparking either fierce loyalty or outright rage, nothing in between. Together, they built their brand on being outsiders. But the cost? It's staggering. In America, they still have fans who applaud their bravery, their honesty, their rebellion. But in Britain, the betrayal stings too deeply. They're not royals anymore, they're celebrities. And that's the bitter irony. Harry left to shield Meghan from the tabloids, but in California, he's locked in a cage far harsher than any palace duty. Celebrity culture doesn't forgive, doesn't forget, and is hungrier than even the British press. Meghan thrives in it. Polished, confident, brand savvy. Harry? He often looks like a man caught between two worlds, one foot still aching for Windsor, the other forced to march along Sunset Boulevard. The tragedy is clear. Harry's choice was supposed to free him. Instead, it chained him to a new kind of stage, a stage where the spotlight burns even hotter, the scrutiny even harsher, the expectations even higher. And now, Britain's silence speaks volumes. They didn't boo, they didn't cheer, they simply erased him. For a man raised on cameras and headlines, that's the deadliest blow of all. Because once upon a time, Harry was the fairy tale, the cheeky, beloved prince who carried Diana's warmth into a new era. Today, he's the cautionary tale, the prince who walked away, the one who picked love over duty, Hollywood over heritage, and paid the ultimate price, losing his place in the very story that made him. And Britain has never forgiven him.